Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Everyman's Odyssey podcast, where we explore the challenges and values of authentic masculinity through sharing stories and ideas. I'm your host and founder of the podcast, Cole McClure. This episode will be a continuation of and the final part of episode 6's interview with my brother-in-law, Jason Morris. This episode will go deep into the harder parts of overcoming adversity and still being able to become the great man that you are called to be. I had a great time with this interview, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Here we go.
How long? What are we at right now?
I have no idea.
Oh, that's fine. I don't care.
The timer's on there. If it
we're good.
If it goes too far, I'll split it up
into
two.
You can
Yeah.
cut and edit it or whatever.
Which I saved this one, closer towards the end. We'll see how you feel about it. But I was wanting to get into it. It's not bad. Just wanted to talk about something. And like I said, with all these questions, we end up going into some of the harder things about being a man. But what's something like specific that maybe it's as an adult, maybe it's as a kid, but really like threw a loop, and you're like, I don't know how I can be a good man because this happened to me, or because I did this. Like, what's something that, and maybe you still feel this way, maybe you still feel like it's holding you back, but what's something that's like, I don't know if I can be the man I'm supposed to be because of this. And then you got to walk yourself through that and find the truth, and like, no, there's nothing that can stop me.
All right, got to set for this one. So, like, this is going to be like, I kind of touched on it, like, with trauma.
Yeah.
But to be candid, I think being abused as a child at a very young age, it was like from all angles. It was crazy. It was like my older cousin. She was a few years older than me, so it wasn't like she was an adult, but definitely old enough to know that she shouldn't be doing things with her cousin.
Yeah.
Because she was a few years older than me, right? So, was molested by my older cousin. So, that's how that started. So, like, and this is being very candid for this podcast, right? The struggle that I had, like, I always had a thing for women that were older. Because at a young age, this woman that was doing these things to me sexually, she was older. Like, just a few years older, right? But in my eyes, as that young boy, she seemed like, you know what I mean? Like, you remember, like, if you're like, what am I trying to think of? Like in Sandlot.
I was just
like
thinking
Sandlot,
of
right?
Wendy
like,
Pepper.
Like, yeah, that's exactly right. So, like, whatever. I mean, that's all in fun.
Right.
But, it was just that. And then getting a little bit older, and then I was sodomized by a gentleman that I don't have, to this day, I don't know who he is. Really? It was that I was staying at the same house as that cousin that did that to me, right? Mm-hmm. It was some type of guy in that neighborhood. In the days where you just ride your bike, because my mom would drop me off there with our cousins, and I'd help them with paper routes. We'd ride our bikes all over the place, and
right.
And that's I don't like going into detail about it. I don't really, honestly. Sure. I just don't. I should not be ashamed of it, but it's just something I just don't like talking about, because it just brings up memories that I just try to like move past.
You don't need to revisit.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that happened, and then when I got a little bit older, the lady next door that lived next door to us, my bedroom door was down here, like my window in my room, and they lived in a 2-story house, and this grown woman, she had to have been 30 or 40, and I'm like, 14, 15 maybe? Not even. Like, she would just show herself to me in the window. And it was found out. My parents went and talked to her, and she didn't deny it.
Really?
But nothing was done. My parents didn't call the cops. I mean, if my parents are watching this, I'm not trying to talk about it, but I'm not trying to talk bad about you guys. It's not what this is about.
Yeah.
But that was trauma right there. Was those 3 things are the things that I always had a very hard time dating anyone my own age. Because from a sexual standpoint, that wasn't gratifying to me. Older women was what was gratifying. The woman showing herself to me.
Because that's what shaped your early
My
experiences.
cousin was older, right? Yeah. The older gentleman. Like, it's just older. Everything was older, right? And I just thank God. I thank God that, like, see, the problem with, and I struggle with a lot of things, like like, because those things were done to me sexually, like, I struggled with a lot of those things. Like, I was an exhibitionist for a very long time.
Really?
Because of that lady. Because I equated, she was showing herself to me, right? And I thought that was, at a young age, I'm 13, 14, right? Oh, this is awesome. Like, you know, in the moment, it's not, though. Like, she was 100% in the wrong.
Yeah, right.
But I correlated, like, oh, this is gratification.
Right.
Like, peeping Toms,
This
like,
is
flashing.
normal.
You
Like,
flash me, oh, I'm aroused from it. So I thought, like, that's what I would do to, like, older women. Like, that's what I would just,
you're reciprocating that
I
experience.
just thought that was, you know, but no, it's not appropriate.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form. So going back to what you were saying, like, was the hardest thing for me, was not feeling. Is that what you were asking about, the worth?
Yeah, something that makes you feel like you can't be that, you'll never catch up to that guy.
Those three things are what I feel like. If those things that hadn't happened, that's how I think a lot. If those things hadn't happened to me, man, I'd be such a better person. I'd be such a better man. What I know, I think that maybe the person that I see that's already there has already gone through those things, and you have to use those things
Right.
to get to where you want to be. And I think, like, I thank God for a lot of things. I have a lot of empathy, and I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Like, I would always assume that I thought I would have a lot of anger. And that's what's crazy. I don't understand. Like, I have empathy for people. Like, I have even, for, like, not just the victims of abuse, but I have empathy for the people that the abusers.
Right.
Like, because something happened to them.
Right. Something messed
'Cause
them
I
up
know-
too. They were
yeah.
the victim before at some
Maybe
point.
I was an exhibitionist, right? And, like, whatever, like, you know, like flashers or whatever, right? But thank God that trauma I wasn't someone that turned into something a lot worse.
Right.
Like, you know, like people that molest children or those types of things. Like, and I hate to say it, I'm not, like, trying to, like, diminish anything they've done. It's just, I think that's where my soul's soft. And I kind of have empathy for everybody. And no, you do whatever crime you commit. Yeah, you got to pay that price.
Right.
100%. Like, you should not be around children.
Right.
You know what I mean? Go different island, prison by yourself. Absolutely. But if we can all agree that God has given us stuff that we don't deserve,
Right.
yeah, we can cast those people out of society like they're not worth anything. I don't believe that.
Right.
I think that everyone they're worth something.
Yeah.
And in those cases, it's hard for people to get on board with that.
Right.
But I don't care.
Yeah, because it's hard to think that, like, oh, well, Jesus died for his sins too. Like, that's
Right.
Screw that
So
guy.
I mean, I have children. I've discussed. Don't get
Right,
me wrong. Like,
yeah.
yeah, if I saw someone do it to my kid, I'd kill him. I'm sorry. Like, I do have it, but I would kill you. You know. So, but those are the things in my mind that kept me from. Or how do I put this? Amber would always say, like, you really feel like you don't deserve anything good, don't you? I'm like, yeah, I don't. I feel like I don't. I feel like I don't deserve to be successful. I feel like I don't feel like I deserve to have these nice things. Like, it's just not in the cards for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all this stuff that happened to me and I've done to people, like, no, I deserve to be where I'm at and not successful because it's not fair. Because I hurt a lot of people. Like, I shouldn't be benefiting in life because, like, I've hurt people. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think that ever, like, because, you know, we had talked earlier about, you know, you're not working in times where you know that you should. And do you think part of that is because you feel like you don't deserve it? Like, because, you know, you might be right on the cusp, like, oh, if I just do this, then I get to that next level. And do you think that stops you? Like, well, I don't deserve that next level, so I'm just going to hang back here.
I think it's
Where I should
I
be.
think it's subconscious. I think it really is.
Right.
I don't ever tell myself that.
Right.
But what's the explanation?
Right.
Like, I have the blueprint. Like,
Right.
what really is holding me back?
Yeah.
It's that 100%. Like, if I'm being honest, it's just I don't deserve it,
Yeah.
and that's sad, you know.
Right.
But that's not what God wants. And, like, when, you know, these people talk about, oh, put it out there, like like those
The manifestation
yeah,
stuff.
no,
or-
it's not that. It's knowing that if you truly believe that God obviously has forgiven you of your sins, if he's done that for you, right? If he went and told his son, hey, you need to go be tortured,
Right.
and you're perfect, but I need you to go.
You need to go die for Jason.
I wonder what he looks at me. He's like, what the heck's wrong with you, dude?
Right. Don't
Like,
waste this.
You got your wife, your kids, and all this stuff happened to you, Like, I kept you out of jail, like, when you probably should have been in jail. Like, and now you're still sitting at 41 years old, still like, oh, what was me? Like, I don't deserve to get better.
Yeah.
I really think that's what I think that's what I think he when he's thinking about me.
Right. It's got to be so frustrating.
I think he loves me, but he's just like your children, right? You'd hate to see your kids, they make mistakes. Okay, well, that's fine. Pick yourself up.
Right.
Like,
but you know that they can do more, and you want them to.
and and it breaks your heart when they're not.
Yeah.
Right. So I think those are those things, particular in my past, that's keeping me from the potential or from that person that I'm trying to catch up to.
Right.
Those are those things that's stopping me from getting there quicker. I mean, actually, I would say I'm just stuck in that mentality. I'm still working, like
Yeah.
but as far as being consistent, that's what it is. Like, because I know I break the consistency for 1 month, perfect. Now I'm back to we're struggling.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's really is. You know, but I hate being candid. You know, I wanted to come on here and talk like I'm just going to share with them like how easy things are, and I turned everything around, and I've improved like 120%, like
Yeah.
way more present. Like, I could be a better husband, I could be a better father, but from where I was to where I am now, leaps and bounds,
Right.
100%. But I'm not satisfied, and I want to continue to keep trying to get better.
Yeah.
You know, so I do have to recognize that I have done a lot of internal work,
Right.
and my family is better for it, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, I don't know. I really hadn't thought about this or prepared anything for it, but I hope you know, like, I don't know, I've known you 17 years, close to at this point, and obviously, like, you know, I was a kid,
right,
you know, when we met and we started dating Amber, but like the man that you are now compared to the man that you were back then, yeah, like it is a night and day difference. And I would get so angry with you when you were struggling with gambling a lot and making these decisions and seeing pain that you would cause my sister. I would get angry. And then we went through a phase where you and I started talking more, and I started to understand more and have more empathy. And now to see who you are now and like the man that you are and the passion that you have for your family, like that's something that I like look up to now. Like I don't have like resentment or anger, but I can look up to see like what you're doing. And like you're saying, oh, well, I could work more and I could do this. And yeah, we all could, but
right.
I want you to know, like, it's very obvious, like the growth that you've made and the changes that you've made. And it is, I don't know, it's not even about like redemption or making up for things that you've done in the past, but like regardless of your starting point, where you're at now, you should be proud of.
Well, I appreciate that. I think I will say this, that part of the reason why things started to get better was directly because of you. And I think I've told you before, but I don't know if I really went in depth, I knew that all of you guys were upset with me. I'm not an idiot, right? Like, I knew, like, you guys actually were being a lot nicer than you could have been, you know, like, but when me and you started talking a little bit, right, I didn't know anything about you, but I never asked you.
Right.
I was selfish. Like, that whole part of my life, I didn't give a crap about my wife. I didn't even care about my kids. I just wanted to go out and drink, and I wanted to gamble, and it was just me being selfish, and it was all stemming from childhood trauma. No excuses. Right. It's just, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to deal, and this is just what I'm doing.
Right.
But it was but when you literally came to me, and not in a demeaning way or even talking down to me, you had kind of brought up, like, hey, Jay, have you ever thought about maybe like mental health? And I had never thought about it before. And because you told me about it, like, and you had said, you know, that there are some medications, and you came to me in wanting to help.
Yeah.
It probably was for your sister and for the family, but I felt like you literally were coming because you wanted to help me.
Yeah.
And that for me sunk in. Because I'm like, dude, there's no reason that he needs to, like, you know what I mean? and it wasn't even like you were coming because of Amber. Like I felt like you literally were coming as like from a human to a human.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I see you've got to be hurting because you're doing some stupid things here,
Right.
like that aren't normal,
Right.
you know. And so from that moment on, I went, got appointments, and been on medication. I've been on medication ever since that period and on, and like it was like I've gotten some diagnosis of things, and there was an imbalance. Not making excuses. Like there was a lot of decisions I could have just not made.
Right.
But had I not had that conversation with you about mental health, there would be no marriage. There would be none, because that was the first time I ever thought like, oh, maybe these brass decisions I'm always making, you know, like it was all fuel. The gambling and the drinking was just fueling that bipolar.
Right.
And I wasn't medicating it the way that you need to medicate it.
Right. You're feeding it.
I was feeding it, right? And I didn't know why.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? I just thought it was trauma, but the trauma caused.
Right. The bad behavior was coping for the trauma.
Right. You've been in the military. You'll 100% understand that. Like how people go in, they come out. Like we were discussing before. It's all circular. It's all connected, right?
Right.
So, I want to let you know that I appreciate you, like, at a young age, because I'm older than you, not a lot, but I'm older than you, and you were giving me advice in a way that someone that's not in their 20s should be giving advice like that. That usually comes from someone that's been through a lot, and they come to you like, hey Jay, like I want to help. Like you came from your wisdom for me, that was in you said you look up to me like how I am with my family. I look back then, that's what I was with you. I told Amber that before. I said, man, Cole is so mature for his age. Like, you know what I mean? And so like I see it. We see each other the opposite. You know what
cool.
I mean?
Yeah.
But I like the fact that you at least see like how I am with my family, and you can see that. But it really came from you. You know what I mean? It's hard to see that sometimes, but I'm being honest with you. Like it came from your help.
Well,
you know?
I mean, that makes me really happy, because I do remember the conversation, because it was not too long before then. I was in the parking lot of the casino, and I think maybe you remember me showing up. I don't know, but I was there to hurt you, like. And I had rationalized it all in my head. I'm like, hey, I might be able to get away with this, is what I can do, and play like the veteran card, and this is what I can. I'm not gonna go into details about plans or anything, but like I was there to hurt you enough to get you out of the casino, like, and deal with whatever happens. I'm sitting in the car, I'm ready to get out, and God's just hit me like, what are you doing? Like not only is this a stupid decision, like, who said you have that authority? Like, you don't get to take this kind of like, and what pride is that to think that like you are the person who has like this wisdom and authority to go dole out judgment because what you know is best. And I sitting there in the parking lot like, crap, like, yeah, like I am in no place to judge, as much as I may hate the behavior and what it's doing. Like, I just felt so convicted, like I'm not the person to make those calls. So it was shortly after that, and I remember, yeah, God just kind of speaking to me like, if you want things to be different, like you can help make them different, but it's not by this like force that you think that you're going to put onto somebody, which is ridiculous to think anyways.
It would have pushed me away.
Right.
It
wouldn't have helped.
I know myself.
I would have felt better in the moment, but it was selfish to think like I would have been doing it for myself.
Right.
So then when I had that conversation, it was, yeah, like I had said, like seeing suicides and going through my own experiences and knowing where I've been and the thoughts that I've had, knowing like, man, if I was in, because I had been through a very destructive cycle, and I had hurt Nicole over and over again, more than she could ever possibly deserve it. And I just thought, like, if I was in that cycle that you were in, like, I don't think I had anybody, like, and I didn't have another man see what I was going through and speak to it. And so I had a lot of dark times, but I could see that, like, if I just separated myself from, like, oh, my sister's hurting, and look at you as a man, like, I see the cycle that you're in because, different circumstances, different behaviors, but I've been in a destructive cycle to deal with things that I didn't want to deal with.
Right.
And so, yeah, like, approaching it from that angle, like, it's one of the reasons I wanted to start a podcast in the first place is because, like, just being able to have honest conversations, that's where the growth comes from. And so, like, I really remember the conversation because that's what it's all about, is like, that's how good men become better men. That's how bad men become better men. It's like, you got to share the burden. You got to share your own crap and not use it to, like, push other people down, but to understand each other. And like you said, like, not judgment and not for somebody else's benefit. And I truly did, like, I cared about you and I saw the suffering and I wanted it to get better. And that it can, like, because no matter what happens, there's still, like we talked about, like, there is that hope, and there has to be that hope. So if you know that there's a hope for a better future and you've had the experiences, like, in the pits, then the only thing that you can really do to make a change is to speak to it honestly. And I'm really glad that had an impact, because
No, it did.
It changed our relationship, I think, too.
It did. So here's one, right? So you chose not to make that decision to come in and make a scene. You chose not to, but not everybody in your family made that decision. Your dad came in one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. See, this is how I know, like, it wouldn't have helped, because I don't care if your dad's listening. I love your dad. I look up to him. I think he is an amazing provider. I think he works hard. I think he's a good dad to have. Like, he was teaching me the knots today. Like, I never learned knots. Well, my dad did help me teach me, like, to fit, tie some fishing knots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever. It's been a long time. So, like, from that point of view, right? And your dad's a matter of fact, right? Like, your decisions directly influence, like, the choices you make.
Right.
And that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he came into that casino. He's like, what the hell's wrong with you? You know what I mean? And because it's true, because I was, like, not in a good place and borrowing money from Grandma Jerry, and you know what I mean? He knew it. And he's like, you're over here. And he was 100% right. Like, I look back now and I applaud him. Like, I applaud you for doing it the way you did, because that's ultimately what got through to me. But I also applaud him for, like, maybe it didn't work the way that it should have, because I just wasn't going to accept that.
Right.
It shut me down. I powered off.
Right.
Like, but he was coming from a good place.
Yeah.
He was coming from a place of frustration. Like, how do this needs to stop.
Right.
Like, and it's coming from a place, like, not really knowing how to stop it.
Right.
Like, no, I'm going to go in there and I'm going
to stop it. Yeah.
But that didn't stop it.
Right.
It's like, maybe he thought the fear of him would.
Right.
I mean, I do fear him, but in the addiction though, there is no fear.
Right.
It's
and when you're in intentionally, you're in a self-destructive cycle, someone who's threatening harm almost just feeds the self-destruction, and it's almost like, I don't know, but it's almost like gratifying in a way. It's like, well, I'm already here, like, so you're just punishing yourself, like, whatever. Like,
right. So, like, it's nice though. Like, I look back, I even think, man, it's nice that you guys even cared. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could have went the other way.
Right.
Like, this guy, and just tolerated me at functions.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, whatever. She's still married to him. Well, I guess we'll just have to just deal with him.
Right.
But you guys, I think God put me in. We got put into each other's paths for a reason.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Amber now, she even says it. She's like, she has a lot more empathy for people, because she's like, I grew up in a home where, like, we had a good upbringing. Like,
Right.
we had a pretty good upbringing. Nothing crazy was going on. Like,
Right.
I had good parents. So it's like, people that do dumb things, what's wrong with you? You're dumb.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? like make good choices. Like, my dad made good choices. Like, he's worked. He's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they, it's a different outlook. See, being from where I came from, like, it was always a struggle.
Right.
Like, trauma. So I always looked at the world like a darker side.
Yeah.
Where if you're living in a house where a lot of things are,
everything's going pretty well as far as you can see.
and that's a good thing, right?
Right.
So you see the world like that. So when you see a mistake, it's like, dude, just fix it.
Right.
You
But
know?
yeah, empathy is typically the fruit of suffering.
Right. You know what I mean? I think, and that's how we learn from each other. But it's like, so now I'm learning more like, okay, I need to make better decisions
Yeah.
because I want to have a life of like how that person sees the world. I
Right.
don't want to see the world from, oh my God, everything's bad.
Right.
Like, it's going to happen. You're going to get hurt. There's going to be trauma. Like, no one's there for you. No one's looking out for you.
Right.
You know, God doesn't care about you. Like, children are getting abducted. What the heck, right?
Right.
It's easy to I lived that way.
Right.
Like, it's good to have that other mindset of live your life. There's things to enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, work hard, vacation. Like, there's positive things, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the nice thing is, like, I feel like I've given you guys a lot of empathy. Like, I think I've given you guys, and just by default, a way to look at people that it goes beyond just bad decisions sometimes. It's like, man, that person has been affected with something
Right.
that, dang, that sucks,
Yeah.
right? They need to change. They need to make these better decisions, but
Right.
shoot, they've been shook to the core
Mm-hmm.
with trauma, and I think we've all kind of learned something from each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah. Because you have.
That's what I think that's what I learn now with people, anyone I run into now. But now I'm running into a lot more good people.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works.
Right.
Like, I choose to, like, whenever I have people on my Facebook or Instagram feed, and if it starts getting negative, they start talking like, oh, every day's been, you're gone. I don't want to, and not because I don't really know you. So it's not like I have an attachment to you,
Right.
but I don't want my day when I'm looking at a feed or anything like that. I don't need negativity.
Right. I don't want to live there anymore.
I have my own life that I have over here that I've got to deal with.
Yeah.
Right. And that's tough enough.
Yep.
Right. I don't need to listen to negativity.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's family. Even I have cousins that I don't, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the empathy to me is like one of the most important characteristics, and like you said, like you have to be close. If you're not experiencing the suffering, you need to at least be close to it or related to it somehow, because yeah, like I've done a lot of things like wrong and I've messed up a lot, but I also like, I don't know how to say this without sounding prideful, like I find it easier to know what the right thing is and just do the right thing. Like, just do it. And it doesn't always work out or whatever. I could be wrong. I could think that I'm doing the right thing and I did the wrong thing. But like my path is pretty well set, even if I don't know where I'm going all the time. But as I get older, I start to realize, like, well, of course it's easier for me. Like, I look at my circumstances and the way that I grew up, like, I sure as hell better be doing the right thing, because then, you know, I've spent a lot of time with people who are addicted to drugs and homeless through all sorts of different jobs that I've had in the past. And at first it was like, man, this is so dumb. Like, just how hard is it? Just go do this. But I think about, like, if I didn't have the family structure that I had, if I didn't have the wife that I have, if I didn't have the upbringing and the faith that I was blessed with, like, those things made the right choice easy for me. So many people don't have any of that. So the easy and the natural and the choices that have always been set as examples for them are the choices that got them to where they are. So, like,
And the bad choice is the easy choice for them.
right, like,
Yeah.
that's what feels natural.
Uh-huh.
And they don't have the support. Like, I didn't save myself from terrible actions or thoughts. Like, I had people and an upbringing and a faith that saved me. So people who don't have that, or people who have to hang on to those things through traumas that I can't possibly imagine, like, yeah, you start to understand, like, it is harder. And I'm very grateful that it's not harder for me, because it could have been, and it wasn't through my own power that I am better off or made these better decisions. Like, God put me in circumstances that I didn't deserve that made my life easier than their life, and that's not fair, but that's the way it is.
It's like people that are born in third world countries. They have no
Right.
choice of that. They're
Yeah.
just born there, right?
Right.
Now they got dirty water, and who knows how? You know what I mean? They can't read or write. Like it doesn't mean that they're any less than.
Right.
Right? It's just shoot. Like, that's where the empathy comes in.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, like, ultimately, yeah, you're making bad decisions, and you have to be accounted for. Like, that has to be accounted for. Like, you can't
Right.
just get away with it. And I think that's how God looks at us. Like, we don't get away with things.
Right.
but I'm not gonna forget about you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna throw you away. Like the biggest thing that I can take from this is, or what this is another thing that keeps me going, a biblical history of David.
It's all right. I'll edit it all together. It'll look like one thing.
That's fine.
So David.
So David, that dude murdered.
Right.
First, he coveted another man's wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whatever. I'm not saying, we've, as men, I'm sure we all have. Okay. But that dude coveted another man's wife. Then he had that man sent to the front lines to be killed.
Right, and betrayed him. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So he literally was a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, straight up used his power
Right.
and abused it, right? Like, all the people that we hate right now in politics, like, I'm just saying, like, the Epsteins of the world, the Clintons of the world, like, all these people, David was one of them. Like, I'm sorry, he used his power and he killed someone, straight up, and he knew what he was doing.
Right.
I mean, he loved God, though. Like, so, like, that's one thing. Like, you could be a lot of things and still love God. But at the end of the day, like, this is the God of the Old Testament. We're not talking about the God of the New Testament. We're talking about the God that, like, wiped out children and women, like, everybody.
Yeah.
Said that he was the apple of his eye. That's what he said.
Right.
So if that man could covet a woman to a point where he has her husband killed because he wants to have her,
Mm-hmm.
if God can find redemption in that person, dude, like, really, like, look,
I'm not too far gone. Yeah.
there's redemption in all of us.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, that's what keeps me. That's another thing too that keeps me coming back is that story.
Right.
Like, dang, like, I haven't murdered anybody.
Right.
I've done a lot of things, but I have not killed anybody
He's a
yet.
man
You know
after
what I mean?
God's own heart.
I may have looked at other husbands' wives. Okay, I'm gonna admit that I'm not a perfect man, but I've never killed a husband for that reason.
Right.
You know, so I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just, it really does help me know, like, okay, if he could reconnect with God that way and repair that relationship, we all can.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's where the empathy comes from. It's from that story. Ultimately, like, a lot, like, from what I went through too, but then with David, I felt, shoot, man, like, if we all are perfect, what's the point? Like, what is the point of anything?
Yeah. What's the story
There
here?
is no
Like,
story, right?
yeah.
Like, you should always be wanting to learn more every day. And so for me, I think empathy has just come easy.
Mm-hmm.
For you, like, there's certain things that your path has been easy, like, not your path, but just your compass, your moral compass has been straight for you.
It was set early.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, whatever, empathy, I guess, just what I went through, for whatever reason, it's just, Amber doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
Like, how could you? So I have a heart for everybody.
Yeah.
I just do, because I know my heart. So I just can't turn my back on people.
Yeah.
Nobody. I have equal empathy for everybody, all walks of life, you know.
Yeah.
So I might not be the person that's like the sword bearer for God, that, like, you need to go and avenge the wrongdoers.
Right.
I'm the prayer person. Like, at night, God, I pray for all those people that are the abusers. Change their heart. I pray for the victims. God, that sucks. I pray that you mend their heart. I pray that you get them help. You know, I pray for everybody, because if you're just praying for the victims, there's just more victims that are going to get hurt.
Right.
You need to pray for the
if
people.
you're not working on the hearts of those people, then
You have to, and you know what I mean. I that's why, like there was one close friend, like, she would always pray for, like, Obama. She hated Obama. She didn't like him as a president, but she always, like, on Facebook, I just want to let you know, I know I might not agree with you, but she's like, as if he was listening, Obama in her post, like, I pray for our president that God will guide him, that God will work in him. And it's like, those are the people that we need.
Yep.
That's how every Christian should be.
Yeah.
And because God will work out what he needs to work out.
Yeah.
You know, so anyways, I'm out of breath. Like, I'm not even working out, but I feel like, you know,
You're worked up over it.
Yeah. It's like, you know, when you go, like, because I'm so out of shape, like, you bend down to tie your shoes, and you get up, like, oh man, you know. And then I take them off because I was gonna go running, but I'm too tired.
Now I'm too out of breath.
I'm too out of breath
from tying my shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't even untime them. You just kick them off.
That'll count as my workout.
That's too funny.
Oh man. Well, thank you for doing this. I have no idea how long it ran. It was light when we started. It's dark
like
now.
2 hours at
but,
least. I can see it. No, maybe not 2. Well, maybe.
but I think that's one of the things, like, it'd be awesome if this podcast grows and it gets a big audience, but like even if it never does, I'm having such a good time. Like this is so important, even if it's not for everybody else. Like for you and me, I had a great time, and it's like it's an excuse to like just set apart some time that is hard to do and just spend quality time and know each other more, a little bit more than when we started. And I don't know, to be able to do that with people is, I don't know, it's really special to me, because like you said, like the relationships matter and the way that we talk to each other matters, and that's how we get through life, like as human beings, but especially as men, and being able to connect. So I'm really glad that we did it. So
well, I'm glad that you had me on. I'm grateful that I was able to come and like speak my feelings out and speak my thoughts, and it's not easy to do that, you know. And I'm not one of those people that I will shy away from admitting things or being open. Like there are some things that I didn't share and I won't probably ever share,
fine.
Right? But it kills me even in that though. Like there has to be a boundary for me.
For sure.
But that's how it is though. Like even, I know we're trying to wrap up, even when I keep stuff to myself that I did wrong, I feel like when I come on to agree to come on and do something like this, like I tell myself I'm going to be open, and then I don't share certain things. Like I feel like I'm not being honest, but it's not that. It's like I have to protect my family.
Absolutely.
And my wife, you know what I mean? But that's what gets me, is because I know the world we live in, and even though I know I could probably share those things, not everybody is going to go ahead and take that and be understanding.
Right.
That's not how it works. And I have to be respectful of my kids.
Absolutely.
As they get older, and be respectful of my wife. Because although, you know, I mean, when you see people that write books about themselves, and then their family's like, what the heck?
Right.
Like, what? Like, you know, like, no. Like, you know, you have to have some wisdom and be like, okay, I can't share this.
Yeah, the point of this isn't a tell-all. It's what information do we need to be able to give out to have an honest conversation that helps other people. And that doesn't mean that you have to, like, air out everything. And maybe down the line, there'll be somebody who experienced the same thing, and they'll share that, and that's okay for them, and that's fine. Like,
Right. So, but I appreciate like this opportunity, and hopefully down the road I can come back, and I guarantee in however long, a year, 2 years, like I'll be in a different situation. This conversation,
same questions, different answers.
It could be completely, I mean, in a year's time, who knows? It could be 6 months. I don't even know. It could be a completely different conversation. Like, you know what I mean? Even the cadence of my way I speak, the confidence at which I do things, like that's the joy about doing things like this. Like,
it's like a little time capsule, and we'll do it again.
And I'm interested to see like how much better everything gets with the podcast. You know, because this is in the early stages.
We're clamping a phone and using my wife's makeup light.
Like you ever see like shows where like it's like the pilot episode, and it's like cheap everything.
Season 1 of The Office.
It's like it's just cheap. They're like, you know, and then as time goes, you're like, you know, you see like now they're starting to spend money, right? Because now it's taking off.
Because you know it's working.
And I think this is a really good podcast, and there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about they have conversations, but you very rarely get men opening up and really talking about their issues, you know, because you don't want people to know. I think that should change. I think everyone, as much as you can share it. It's only going to help people, you know. So I appreciate it, and I got to smoke most of my cigar, so that was good. I like that blowtorch, though.
Just carry one around.
Dude, that'd be awesome. Like, concealed carry, but no concealed carry. Like, that would scare me more than a gun, I think. Like not the gun, but the person. Like,
if you're crazy enough to...
you could carry a gun, but you're carrying, like, a freaking blowtorch. Like, you're crazy, dude. Like, anyways. So are you gonna edit? How do you edit? Have you even decided how you're gonna edit? Because like sometimes, like we can record this, whatever. But,
whatever.
Like when I watch the podcast that I watch, I really like watching. Like if I want to watch the whole thing, like with Joe Rogan, I'll see certain like on the reels. I'll see like an excerpt of like 30 seconds. Oh, have you seen like mountain lions? And he'll talk about it, and then the other guy will give like his insight. Oh yeah, did you know about this, and this? And like it catches my eye. I'm like, I actually want to watch that episode. Then I'll go to his thing. Like, are you doing that yet? Like editing clips? You know what I mean?
I'm still figuring it out, so I don't think I did that with with Lonnie, I got like a little clip, but I didn't even put the audio in there. It just showed that it was happening. So I'm trying to figure it out, and now recording the audio and the video together on the phone makes it a lot easier
To
'cause
edit.
now everything's right there, so I can literally like, oh, if I want to make a TikTok out of this, I'll just go into TikTok, pick the section of the video that I want, and then I can edit from there.
Which is really cool because you can take like a section that you thought, oh, this was a really good back and forth.
Right.
It was clear and it was good content, and I can just boom slap
Just-
that on and
yeah.
make it real, and then make that be like the highlight of the segment, so
Right.
that people get like, oh, I want to watch this.
Right.
That's interesting. Oh my gosh, like whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm interested. This guy's like, he's really talking about actual things.
Yeah.
You know,
so
like
it does make it a lot easier to create like the hook, because before I was recording to a laptop on 2 different types of software, trying to edit that down together, and then didn't even have video. Then I added video, but they're separate files, and trying to combine the two and get the timing and then get it into a file that's small enough to share on social media, it was a nightmare. So I'm learning, and this is a big step that'll help get like short clips onto social media. And then like we had talked about, like, you know, down the road, so I used the money from the Patreon to buy an adapter so that I could plug my microphone directly into the phone. And then down the line,
oh, that's what that okay. Oh, that's what that is right there.
yeah,
That-
so this
okay.
is plugged right into the phone, so I can use the audio for here for my iPhone video.
Oh.
So then, yeah, like you said, we'll be able to get other camera angles and just time put in to learn how to work all of that and cut it all together. It'll start to get, and it's fun to learn how to do it.
The other thing I like too is because when we play this back, you're gonna notice that, like how you asked me about, like when you sent me the thing to begin with and what I thought, like some criticism or
right.
constructive, and talking fast. Like I talk really fast,
Right.
and that's what's gonna happen. I already told. I can't help it though.
Right.
But I think the other thing that's cool that I like when I watch like the excerpts of certain episodes is when they have the words.
Yeah.
Like as I'm like, so if I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about and it's a 30-second clip, or you're talking about, it's also
auto-generates, so, like,
it's
closed
on there.
captions.
It's on there, so you're
Yeah.
like, even though the person's talking fast, that's fine. You can understand what they're saying because you're reading it.
Yeah, you can pause it and read it if you need
Right.
to, and
And it catches my eye when I come across things like that because I just start reading it.
Yeah.
Like when something comes up like that,
it
I
makes
just
you stop scrolling. Like,
instantly. I'm just your brain is just when words pop up on a screen, you just instantly start reading it.
yeah.
It's just something subconscious, you know.
Yeah.
So I like that. I mean, whatever. Those are just suggestions.
Yeah,
Just from the experience of me watching them, like,
Right.
and me. Oh, I'm gonna click on it because
Right.
I see that there's. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but you know.
Yeah, I think it's weird because, like I talked about, you know, I hate social media and I want to get rid of it, but now that I'm like using it for a purpose, it's frustrating because I hate not being good at things and I'm not good at figuring out this stuff. But as I learn to, like, oh, well, you know, you put it in this aspect ratio, or this is how you add auto-generated, you know, captions, like, that's really fun. And so I was working on recording the next episode that's supposed to be coming out, and I only recorded like 4 minutes of audio,
Right.
just like the intro to what the episode is going to be. So it took me, you know, 20 minutes to get everything set up, and I was supposed to be like, I need to go to bed, I got to get up early. So I did that 20 minutes, and then I spent an hour, you know, just messing with how to get everything right for those social media posts and the different sites that you put it on. And yeah, so like I certainly hope, you know, a year from now it looks a lot more professional and produced than it is, but I think I've kind of grown out of the shame of it not being great. Like I'm doing the best I can with what I got, and I'm having fun learning how to do it. And nobody that I'm looking at now who's doing these incredible like videos, and they're expert content creators, well,
Right.
the first videos sucked almost
go
as
back-
bad as mine, I'm sure.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I think ultimately, this is what I think. If I'm with you. Like if I started, I'm gonna care what it looks like, obviously. But all I know is I know that the key to it is content.
yeah,
Is you'll get better.
right.
The quality's gonna get better as you go. You're gonna learn more. You're gonna get better equipment.
Yeah,
But I think pumping the content out
yeah.
all the time. That's just what I've seen.
That's a hard thing too, with like to be consistent while having, and here I go into excuses, but you have a wife and kids and a full-time job, and now doing this passion project that, like, that's been a hard thing, is like taking time away from my wife and kids to go record this hobby. Like, and it doesn't matter what my goals are for it, that's like the thing in my head, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that, I should be spending time here.
Right. But it helps you
Oh.
though. Like, so
Yeah,
like
it's
this
been good
right
for
here,
me.
like, yeah, I could be spending, but it's self-help.
Right.
Like that, whatever people use that, but it's
It is.
self-help. It's like, yeah, you're taking time away from your family, but
Yep.
it's not like a mindless hobby.
Right.
You're literally helping other people,
Yeah.
and you're literally working through your own problems.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I'm praying more. I'm treating my wife better. I'm reading the scripture more. I'm recognizing my own faults more because, I want to do a podcast about this topic. And then I start preparing that. I'm like, well, I'm not doing any of these things.
How could you do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
how could, I
You're
don't know,
not
you're not the type of
qualified.
person. There are
Right.
people like that, but you're not the type of person. It's like, there's no way you could come up and do this when your house is not in order.
Right.
Like, not saying that you shouldn't, like, but you can fix what you need to fix while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because what we're talking about, right? Oh, well, I'll wait till I'm better.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
I'm going to read the books on fitness.
Yep.
And then, no, well, you're never going to. Like,
Yeah.
so what? You're not where you're at. Start working out.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you want to be perfect and have the perfect podcast? Well, that's not ever going to happen.
Right.
You know?
Focus on being a good dad and a good husband and start your crappy podcast
Right.
and let it build from there.
And I think another thing, and this is, it doesn't have to be on there, but like my favorite basketball player is Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
And it always used to just be because he'd score a lot. Like, he was very talented, right? But as he got older, like, I'd listen to him on podcasts or listen to him in interviews, and he would say, he's like, yes, I loved the trophies. Like, I played for championships. Like, I lived my life that way. He's like, but it was the process.
Hmm.
And say what you want about Tiger Woods or Kobe with like a lot of things that went on in their life, right? Like a lot of these and Michael Jordan, these people that were great, and there's a lot in business too. The joy is in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cherry on top is you won. You got there, right?
Right.
Like, me getting to like $20,000 a month, like, that's my goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I get there, that's gonna feel real good, right? But really, the good feeling was in between getting
Right.
there and starting.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the real
Seeing the growth.
that's where the real, if we're talking about it from a value perspective,
Yeah.
man, that's where the value is.
Yeah.
Is finally I
Right.
broke through.
Yep.
Like, I don't even care about the $20,000 a month. I can't believe I got there.
Yeah.
Right. And at that point, that's why you see people exponentially making more money when they get to those milestones, is because once
Because they're
they've hit,
passionate about the process.
and they saw it, and they're like, yeah, I can get to this number, then I can get to that number.
right.
And
Now there is no ceiling.
there
I
is no
just
ceiling, right?
keep going.
And it's not coming from a selfish standpoint. It's coming
Right.
from you've seen something different in yourself.
Right.
And okay, shoot, like,
And if it's making me better and it's making the people around me better, why would I stop?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this podcast. I joined the Patreon.
I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, I did it right away. I'm like, dude, it was like, I don't know how much it was, like $1, $2, $3. I don't even know what it was per month. Like, nothing. It was really like, really, how could you not? Like, that's what whatever. Like, everyone that's his friend that knows he has this should join.
Yeah.
Like $2. Like, even if it was, I even told him, even if it was $20 a month. Like there's sometimes I don't have $20. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, there's sometimes I'm like, I don't have $20, but I spend $20 on like the dumbest things throughout the month, and then it's like your family,
Yeah.
right? It's $20. I mean, it was not 20. It's
No, it's $3.
$3.
Yeah.
It's $3. Like that's how easy it is to support somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I don't know where this is going to go. I hope it goes farther than you ever thought it would go.
Yeah.
But even if, God forbid, at a certain point, God said, okay, this is it, like, we're done, shut it down, right? All I know is that you're going to know that there was 33 subscribers, and I was one of them.
Right.
And that's, in the end, all that's going to matter.
Yeah.
Is that person cared enough to, like, want to help.
Right.
I don't care if it was $3 or $100, it doesn't matter. Like, that's what would matter to me.
Right.
Like, if I was doing a podcast and I didn't have to ask you, and you just subscribed.
Yeah.
Just the thought of you doing that would mean the world to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I just don't, like, I'm gonna get after I'm gonna find out who's not. I'm gonna find out who's not subscribing to this, and I'm gonna go call. You know what you did, what you didn't do at the casino when you should have came in. I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna go up to everybody. What the hell's wrong with you guys? Just go around with a bunch of ones and throw threes at them. Here,
You'll get a month.
be Oprah, but angry. You get a month. You get a month.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh man.
I think. God, it's hard. How do you market like a Patreon though?
I have no idea. And truly,
Like, seriously, like
I shouldn't have launched it. Like, based on all the research that I did, like, oh, well, you need to have this much ready. You need to have this much content produced before you do. And I saw that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not ready then. And then that clicked. I'm like, you know what? I've been saying I'm not ready for almost 2 years. Like, now I'm going to say I'm not ready, and I'm going to do it anyways. Sure, the podcast isn't even out. But that sure makes more pressure. Like, so I started putting out content. Like, well, I don't have the 20-minute, segment on this topic that I want, and I don't have this many listeners. Obviously, no one's going to subscribe to the Patreon because the podcast doesn't even exist in the Patreon. Like, and it was backwards.
Right? Yeah, right.
But for me, I felt like I had to do it. And if I was going to do it, I need to admit that I'm not ready, shouldn't do it, and do it anyways.
And here's the thing on my end, right? I've always wanted to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Because that's all I do is watch podcasts.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome.
It's so fun.
I never did it.
Yeah.
I've always talked to Amber about it. Like, oh, I should do it. I never cared enough.
Right.
Like, obviously didn't do it. So the moment I saw you with the microphone,
That's cool.
I thought, I want to be on that podcast because he's doing it. Like, and then when I saw the Patreon, I'm like, I'm going to subscribe because he's doing it, right? You're taking the actions that I wasn't willing to take.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, it's a support thing.
Yeah.
Because I would want that, right? If I had made that decision, like, I'm putting myself out
It's
there.
scary, yeah.
And then no one subscribes. No one watches it.
Yeah.
No one cares. It's like, was there a point to this? Like,
Right?
you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
literally,
was there...
like, the last few weeks, that's how I felt, because, like, I got super sick, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't even walk upstairs to, like, do the stuff. So, yeah, there was a bit of a hiatus, but, like, I'm looking at, checking the Spotify thing every day, and I'm like, I have 2 followers on Spotify, and I know that I'm one of them. Like,
I didn't even know you were on Spotify now, but I
So-
don't even know if I have a Spotify account. I think Amber does.
that's what I was, like,
I didn't
so
know.
frustrated.
Shoot, I'll go
at.
on there.
I'm like,
See?
I can't even, like, I'm not going to be angry with people, but it makes it, like, yeah, I feel stupid. Like, here I spent the last few months ramping up and thinking, like, okay, well, I've only got, 100 Instagram followers, whatever, because I'm not, like, an influencer or anything. But, like, well, and half of those are family. I'm like, okay, well, that's, that's 50 listeners right there, right? And so then, yeah, the first few weeks at a launch, and I had been telling myself the whole time, like, hey, like, you start from nothing. That means that there's nothing there. Like, you have 0 listeners,
Right.
and that's fine. But then it becomes more real when you see it and you log in. And it's like, well, I've got this many, friends and family, and only this many episodes have played, and only 2 people are following me, and I'm one of my own followers. Like,
So one person.
so there was one person, and
right, yeah.
a lot of it comes down to, like, oh yeah, I know about you, like, you shared these episodes online, so I went and listened to it or whatever. I checked it out, but you don't click the follow button, and that's just like a mindless thing. It's not like an offensive thing.
It's
Like,
so
I don't care.
But it's so easy.
Yeah, but it's
Click.
So to me, it's like, oh, like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. And that's not, like, I'm glad I did. I don't feel that way. But yeah, when you start to see, like,
See, but it comes. This is where, like, you're a good man because, and you're right in thinking that way, is because you would do that for other people.
yeah,
That's where it comes from.
like, of course I would
It's
go.
like I would support you.
Yeah.
Like, I know that if I started a podcast, a Patreon, or anything like that, within reason, if it was like $3, you would do it.
Of
You
course.
would be like, yo, dude, I love Jay and I love his family, and I want to support him.
right.
Right.
Look, oh, I don't get caffeine on Wednesdays, so I can support his, like, it's so easy.
like I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you, when I first listened to that first interview with your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
It's Haley's husband, right?
Fiance, yeah.
Fiance, right? And then listening to it about his dad being a pastor and a drug dealer.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's. I was like, I didn't know what to think of at first. I'm like, okay, what is this going to be? Is it going to be a cry fest here, like where we're all about feelings? And I'm good with that. Like, but those types of stories,
Yeah.
like that was pretty cool. Like that was what kind of got me like, oh,
Yeah.
dude, this guy is just like throwing his dad out there, huh? Drug dealing, freaking. He's like, what's his name from Breaking Bad?
Right.
Just a science teacher, but he's a pastor.
Right.
You know what I
It's
mean?
even better. Call AMC.
Oh man, I was like, that was cool.
Yeah.
I should have thought about some good stories. Dang it. Next time I come on, I
Yeah.
got some good ones. Well, I got some. I'll tell you. Maybe not for camera, but
We'll do a different tier of Patreon.
Oh, no, yeah.
Well, for $15 a month, you get all of Jason's dirty life.
well, you can. No, it's not my dirty. You can. I don't know if they're listening. I don't really care.
Yeah, it's-
So my dad, when we drove from California, I flew out to California and drove with my dad here to come visit, or Texas, because he wanted to come visit the grandkids. My real dad. And he was telling me a story about my Uncle Joe. My Uncle Joe is a degenerate, like, alcoholic. But when he wasn't drinking, was the nicest guy in the world. Like,
Yeah.
super nice. Like, you would love him. Italian, like, heated. And my dad was telling me, he's like, Jay, I gotta tell you this. I know it's a little crude. He's like, but I was at your Uncle Joe was engaged to your aunt, and they were at a party. Like, it was a party back in the day when they'd have house parties, right? Like, your Grandma Jerry would, from what Amber told me, she used to have, like, her friends would come over. That's where all those drinking glasses, remember, and Grandma Jerry's stuff?
Yeah, right.
That was all because
Dozens of them.
they were social. They would have parties. I didn't even know that. Amber's like, I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. Well, anyways, so he was at a party, and everyone was there. Like, he worked for his father-in-law. So his father-in-law was there and his mother-in-law at this party, and he worked, and it was like a company party, right? And one of the other guys he works with, like, Joe was drinking, and Joe just thought it would be funny. And this is my Uncle Joe. The guy walks in, he's like the owner of the company, the owner. And I don't know what name, I think his name was Bill. It doesn't really matter. He's like, Bill, like, in front of his wife, hey, Bill, let's suck cock. Like, in the middle of a Christmas party, like a company party.
Yeah.
And just, could you imagine, like, if I did that, like, in front of your parents, like, at a party, like he thought it was like, I laughed now. Honestly, I wasn't there, and I'm not, whatever, but I know him, my Uncle Joe. I instantly laughed. My dad's like, you thought that was funny? I said, yeah, I think it's hilarious. I mean, I don't think it's nice to say those things, but that's
the fact that somebody else did.
But that was my Uncle Joe. Like, that's just who he was. He didn't care. He didn't care if his in-laws were right there. Like, that's how he was. He provided, but he was that type of person. He was old school.
Yeah.
I'm going to say whatever I want. I provide for I take care of her. I built our house. I don't have to answer anybody. I don't care if your mom and dad are there. If I think the joke's funny, I'm going to tell the joke. I'm like, so there's an extreme like that where we need more. I hate to say it. We don't need we don't need more men like that, but we need more men that are unapologetic.
You need less fear.
Like, yeah, less fear. Okay, so you probably shouldn't have, right? But that type of man, he wouldn't care.
Yeah.
He's not going to care. He's like, I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't care. Like, I pay my own way.
Yeah.
You know? And he shouldn't have said that, and he shouldn't have used those words. That's not what a real man should do, how they should operate. But I look at that, and I laugh, but I thought, man, I want to have confidence like that he could just pull up that joke in the middle of a party and not even care. And think it was funny and laugh at it.
Yeah.
Like, laugh at it. I just thought, God, that generation is so far gone, like, about just being unapologetic for what you do, right? I mean, it's just we need more people that just. I apologize too much for things, and I should in certain things, but in some other areas I should just be like, why do I care you're upset?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so what? I got upset, but it is what it is, you know? Let's move on. I don't need to apologize every 5 seconds.
Right.
You know, it's a balance.
Yeah.
But I think that we're just getting soft.
Yeah.
We are. We're getting soft. As everybody, not just men. I think just as a society as a whole.
Right.
It's just, you know, I think it was another podcast. I know this is going on a long time. Another podcast. They brought on a single mom, and she was all about, like, wanting her son to enjoy his youth, have fun, like, you know, trying to help him.
Yeah.
And this other guy was a single father that lost his wife, right? They were on the same podcast together. And he looked at her and said, you're doing a disservice to your son. She's like, what are you talking about? This world doesn't give a crap about your son. He's like, you're just coddling him. He's like, you need to raise your son as if they're going to rule the world. Like, they need to be prepared. Not that they're going to have that sense of entitlement.
Right.
But the fact remains is that when my son becomes a man, like, no one's running him over.
Yeah.
He's the one that people are going to fear that he's going to run them over. And I thought about it. I thought, this world is not easy on men.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think, like, men have it really hard.
Yeah.
Like, we hear, like, oh, man, white men are entitled. Or just in general, like, men are just, they've always just...
The patriarchy.
They've always had everything that they needed, right? Yeah, maybe back in the day. Or whatever. I don't even know. I was before my time.
Right.
All I know is I can speak of on my generation.
Yeah.
Man, damned if you are and damned if you aren't.
Right.
If you're not providing, then shoot, like, you're lame, you're a deadbeat. If you're providing and you're taking control, you're a chauvinistic pig. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you have it all, you're entitled and privileged, and if you don't have it all together, then you're lazy.
Do you know what I mean? I think more men just need to be like, what was the saying that I read? Like, it's better to be
Better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
And
Yeah.
it's the truth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my opinion. Like,
Yep.
you know, Mr. Miyagi. I mean, like, you know, he looked like helpless, like snipping the, you know, bonsai trees, but don't mess with him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so I don't know. But that all comes from, I think, what is taught to you,
Right.
you know, and my stepdad's been a good provider.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just not that killer instinct. Like,
Right.
there's certain men that have that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Just like your dad kind of has it a little bit.
Right.
I see glimpses. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and thank God that both exist, because you're right. Like, it is better, but
There's
that
gotta-
warrior also needs to be able to go home and be a decent husband, father, lover, like community member.
right.
And so, where's he going to get that except learning and observing from the people who are the gardeners and learning from each other? And that's what I like about the idea of talking to so many different people about their experiences, is the only way that you get to be both is by being the one and being able to learn from somebody and accept somebody who's so different from you, but they have the qualities that you're never going to get on your own. And then you share the qualities that they don't have. Like,
Right.
And so these two come together, they grow as individuals, and they raise up the next generation that does have both. Like,
Oh, it's crazy. As we talk, I just start like, I start picking things up from like all these other places. This other guy I follow, a lot of people don't like him. His name's Andrew Tate. I don't know if you've run across him on social media, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people do not like this guy. Like, it is what it is, right? But he brought up a good point. He said, if you're, people may not agree with this, and I don't care, but this is what I think. If you are a leader and you're showing people that you're emotional as a man, like you're going to cry, we don't need that. We don't need leaders that cry. Like, that's what he said. He's like, and then he said, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's wrong to cry if you're a man.
Right.
He's like, if you're going to cry like that in public as a leader, you shouldn't be leading people. He's like, there's men in your home and you need to take care of your family and you want to show your kids emotion. Absolutely. You do that in the privacy of your home.
Yeah.
But he was just speaking because they were talking about leaders and people that rule nations. He's like,
yeah.
men that are like that in public that cry, he's like, go back and look. Those are men that their countries were destroyed. They're men that are weak. It shows weakness. They may not be weak, but you give the perception.
That can be, you can be exploited. Or
So
you can,
that's what he's saying. He's saying because he was talking about Trump. Like, you don't see Trump crying.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You don't see that. All you know is you see him and he is who he is. And you don't want to mess with him.
right.
Right? That's what we need as a leader. Like,
Yeah.
we need people that are scared of our country right now. And he was just saying, because they were comparing different types of leaders.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I don't agree with a lot of the things that a lot of these guys are saying, but
Right.
the fact of the matter is, like, we need that voice.
Yeah.
And yes, everyone has faults. Like, Donald Trump, people love that guy 100%. They freaking love him. Dude, he has faults, and he has a lot of faults,
Some
dude.
deep ones.
Right. But doesn't mean that he shouldn't be the president.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If your standard is we'll find someone without faults, then we'll have no leader.
Right.
Like, and that was the original design. Is, well, God will be the leader. Well, they asked for a king instead, so you're gonna have a human.
Right,
And
right.
that person's gonna have faults.
Well, it's like Andrew Tate, like, he's all very, like, what did you use the word? Like the hierarchy?
the patriarchy.
The patriarchy. He's very that way. Like,
Yeah, right.
men provide, women are at home with the children, right? Hey, a lot of people aren't going to like that. Like, we live in a new time. Like, I get it. But we need people that still think that way.
Yeah. Right.
Like, it's the truth. I'm sorry. Like, men created us for a certain reason.
Right.
God created us for a certain reason. And it's to provide. You're, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why I feel like I'm having to, like,
You don't have to
be
defend
touchy.
anything on
No,
here.
but
Yeah,
I
it's
just I feel weird that I even, like, that's what this generation has done for me, like, has done to me in speaking about this.
makes
like,
you apprehensive when you shouldn't be.
like, I don't, and I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, that's what I'm gonna say. Men, like, we're built different,
Right.
and women are maternal, or they're more. And it's not like we're any better than them or they're any better than us. It's
Right.
just like I think the mess we're in is just men not stepping up anymore.
Right.
Ultimately, that's what I think. I
Yeah.
think the men not doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And no wonder why women feel the way they do. Like, no, we
Right.
can do anything. We can do it better. We can do just as good. Well, yeah, because
we've been slacking off.
in our early 20s, gambling, drinking,
Right.
not being there. Like,
Yeah, well, I wouldn't think, I could do that.
I can do it. I don't need you.
Right.
You weren't actually there.
Right.
I did do
I
it.
know I didn't need you.
Right? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, that's the thing, right? So, like, so I understand, like, we can get, they get upset, like, that there's this type of thinking now, but it's like, dude, no offense, like, the Tates of the world or whatever, but you need to speak to that young male.
Right.
That needs to be in their mind.
Well, when it comes to Andrew Tate, I'll send you a video later about
Okay.
because I got a lot of thoughts. But John Lovell created the Warrior Poet Society Network. He's got a whole YouTube channel, video series company, but he actually did a couple videos talking about Andrew Tate. So I'll send that to you. And
Okay.
what he lines out is, like the prospect on masculinity and all the things that they could agree on, but then these core things that they would disagree on, like that's the one drop of poison in this whole cake that's going to kill you, is like, because he does speak a lot of truth, but what he's missing or misrepresenting is so toxic. And that's what they talk about with the toxic masculinity or whatever. And like, you're absolutely right that like men should be standing up and taking more responsibility and being proud of the responsibility that they're taking on. But the danger, I think, influencers like that, like Andrew Tate, and who are in the goal of raising up men, sometimes do it at the expense of diminishing the role of women. It's like, because you know what, like if we could rule the world all on our own and we had it all under control, God wouldn't have created woman. Like, it would have just been a bunch of dudes taking perfectly good care of the earth and everything would have been fine. But we can't. And that's actually some of the stuff that I'm writing now. Is like, well, God didn't create like a helper to like make man's life more convenient. God created woman as a helper, as a like rescuer to save us from ourselves, because left to our own devices, men don't just figure it all out. And we should be taking, like I said, you should take up the mantle that has been bestowed upon us. We do have a lot of responsibility, but at our best, we can't do it on our own. Like,
I think
he portrays that we could.
I think I agree with that, but the caveat for me is this: is to like even make it simple, like not to diminish what you said, but because I agree with you, because I've watched it and I've seen I've seen the flaw in the logic, but I think that's one person. Like, there's only a handful of people that talk like that I've seen that actually walk the walk. Like, he's in good shape. Like, he's successful. Like, he takes care of himself, right? I may agree on some things that I don't like with him that he says, but at the end of the day, 99% of the world does not share that view.
Yeah.
Of being a man and what being a man is, right? I'm not talking that a woman should be subservient or anything like that. It's just, I don't even know what his religious views are, to be honest.
Right.
I don't know, right? But I know, as far as a Christian, what God has called us to be as men. And if his flaw is that he's coming from a position of where the man is more important, then so be it. That's his flaw in his argument, right? But he's not wrong in the retrospect to everything else.
Well, it's just like you said at the very beginning. Like, it's like a buffet. Like, don't take everything. Like,
right.
There is some truth in there.
Right.
And recognize the flaws and avoid them. Don't repeat them. But you can't say that nothing he says is true.
Like, yeah, for sure. Like that's where I will acknowledge, like, okay, like, I don't like that. I don't think you should have said that, and I don't agree with it. But there are some people that they'll just dismiss the whole person.
Dismiss everything, yeah.
Like, dude, like, he has some really good takes on how men should be. And he goes after the young males.
Right.
Like, take control of your life.
Yeah.
Like, and I like that.
Yeah.
And I think the world would be better off if all young men had that drive. Like, you need to be better as a man. You need to get in shape. You're going to have to provide someday. And you need to prepared for it, because this world is not going to go easy on you,
Right.
you know? And I'm okay with dismissing half of what he says, because 99% of everything I watch is all
Right.
like, oh, like you're chauvinistic, or it's just I see it like it's
Well,
apologetic.
You're 40. You have the wisdom to discern, like, what he's saying here is bullcrap. What he's saying here, like, God, I hope everybody, like, I hope these young men hear this. But the problem comes in, like, these 18-year-old, 19, like, the young men who are like, yeah, that's true. And then they don't have the wisdom to discern, like, they don't see, like, oh, wait, everything he's saying here, or his, and I don't know anything about his relationships or his personal life,
right.
But you have the wisdom to see what to take and what not to take.
Right.
And when your target demographic is so easily influenced, I think there needs to be more nuance than he's
Well, and
showing.
part of it, he's
But-
an influencer. He makes money
Right,
on
it's his-
subscriptions.
that's his
like
whole
it's,
gig, yeah.
it is. And I sometimes I'm like, how real is he? You don't know.
Right,
You don't know people. You know. I mean, you hope, like, because you're doing this to help people.
right.
And the byproduct, maybe it blows up, and you know you're able to make a living and a side hustle or whatever. Right? I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? But you're doing it. That's not why you're doing it. You're
Right.
doing it because you want to help people, right? And I give people the benefit of the doubt like that.
Right.
Like, I think the Tates of the world, in his own way, he's rich and famous and all that.
Mhm.
But I really, I don't. He doesn't seem like a fraud to me.
Right. Maybe he is
I-
toxic and screwed up, but also maybe he's really trying to help.
I think like he sees like the need for the change in the world, but I think he's right in the way that he's right in what's going on.
Right.
But I think he's got some wires crossed.
Right. And like you
And-
say, you don't know the heart of the man, so take what you recognize is true and go from there.
Well, it's like the other side when women say we don't need men now. No, that is not true.
right.
Like, and no, like what he said, we don't need women. That's not true.
right.
Like, no, it's absolutely. It's you felt that way because you were wronged,
Right.
and he feels this way because he feels like he has been wronged.
Right.
Right? Like his dad raised him and his brother to be fighters, raised them with discipline, right? That's how he was raised. And in this world now, that is not a good thing.
Right.
Like people frown on that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I think he takes that mantle to an
Right.
extreme,
Yeah.
you know? Like, so, I mean, like I want to go, but see, like I want to get back online and go find some more podcasts and different people, like, because I like him, but then I also want some softer people, like have that same mindset, but like are a different way of getting the information across, you know?
Right. I think John Lovell is probably one of my
So
favorite.
John Lovell.
And Jocko Willink.
Okay, all right.
Oh.
I will check those
And
out.
obviously, like, I am prone to be more interested from the military perspective. You know, Jocko Willink was a SEAL for a long time, and John Lovell was an Army Ranger. But also, like, after his life as an Army Ranger, went into full-time ministry in Central America, and now he has his own company, I believe, in Georgia. But their perspectives, like Jocko's focus on self-accountability and humility, and John Lovell's focus on masculinity, but also expressing that as being able to express gentleness towards your wife and kids. Like, that's where I gather a lot of, like, if I'm taking in content, those are the voices that I want to be listening to.
Right.
Like, who aren't afraid of being bold about their masculinity, and who aren't ashamed of being warriors or being people that God has called them to be, but also is not ashamed of humility and softness and having the courage to do both. Like, those are the voices that I tend to listen to.
Well, I'll check those out. But to end, I want to just say, 9/11 was an inside job. Area 51 is not real. They are saying that it's real now. This is a distraction. There's no such thing as aliens. John F. Kennedy was murdered by the U.S. government. Trying to think. Our votes don't matter. The system's rigged. No, I'm just. This is. I'm kind of being funny, but I want to end it this way because these are just my real quick takes on things that probably don't matter on this podcast. But I want to just because these are hot topics. So I'm just like,
I would love to do an entire episode with you about this exact thing. That's like completely like not related to what the podcast is about, but we'll throw
That's
it up
why
on
I threw-
YouTube or a Patreon or whatever, and talk, because we were just talking about this. Like Nicole's like, when you told me you want to do a podcast, I thought for sure it was going to be about current events, politics, and conspiracy theories, because that's what you're always talking about. Like, yeah, but that's not where my heart is. That's where my mind is. Like, so I would love it. Like,
Let's do
when you
this.
come back,
Let's-
like we should do one, because I've got so much.
Okay, so let's do this. I only have when I come back. That's fine, whenever. But we could even do. I don't know how this works. How you could do it with like a Skype or
We can do it,
Zoom, and we could do it that way too.
That'd be awesome.
And that way it will give me some time, honestly, to like. I don't just want to spout conspiracy theories, like, because legit, I've looked a lot of this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff I said I do agree with, some of I don't. But it was just kind of,
It's just fun.
But I want to be able to get some resources and information,
Yeah.
and talk about like 9/11 and talk about. I think I told you about Rumsfeld. Did I tell you about that yesterday?
Yeah, we were just talking about it last night.
Those types of things are interesting.
And important to future generations being the people they're supposed to be. If you're going to be strong and you're going to lead, you better know the truth.
Right. I mean, things have changed in just how old I am. Like when 9/11 happened, I was 18, like right around that age.
Mm-hmm.
I, at that moment, could never have ever believed that 9/11 was an inside job.
Inconceivable.
There is no way. When people even brought it up, I would get so angry.
Right. It's
Like
You're not a patriot.
You are not patriotic. Are you
Yep.
kidding me? But now, and so I hope we get to the, hopefully soon we can, because you can put that out whenever.
Yeah.
Like the thing, so we can do it like when a couple weeks or like
Sure.
whenever you have time,
Okay.
and just set aside and we'll make sure we set aside a certain amount of time, so we don't like go
So-
for freaking 3 hours or whatever, But I want to do that because I think that's fun and interesting. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, to kind of mix it up, like, because
Yep.
this was kind of a serious one, and I totally like that. But then I also like to discuss the things that are people always want to talk about.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, I kind of want to get my opinion out there and my view.
I would love that. And I actually have some software where we can do it over the internet, and it'll just mesh together, and we'll do that.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yep.
You got a what?
All right, so that's a wrap for my interview with my brother-in-law, Jason Morris. As you can tell, we covered a huge range of topics, and things got a little wild towards the end there, but I think we both really had a good time. As always, you guys feel free to reach out on social media and check out the Patreon account, and there'll be more interviews like this. And I'm still looking forward to hooking up with Jason on some of those more interesting controversial topics that will come at a later date. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care.